So let me tell you something. That's how real the world government is. That the corporation of South by Southwest, it appears, that's what the police and people said, had called to say we couldn't hand out magazines in downtown Austin or even have an InfoWars bumper sticker. Now, they said no today. That's just some little, nothing bottom-feeding Hollywood wannabe group. Imagine the mega bankers who make Ken Lay and Bernie Madoff look like good guys, who are involved in trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of fraudulent derivatives. They want a world government to back up their operations and to exempt them from all their unconstitutional oppressive laws used to consolidate power. And that's the heart of all this. So when I talk about Mohammed Karzai, the puppet president, the dictator with fake elections, that's on record, just like Hugo Chavez. But he's Western installed, on the board in the past of Unacal, a big pipeline company, but he's his own gangster. And so the other gangsters have gotten mad at him, and they killed his brother, biggest opium dealer in the world a few years ago. You can look all this up. I'm going to play a special report in the next hour on this that I cut in 2011, breaking how Al-Qaeda and Taliban. Again, our media is saying, Karzai's saying, you can read his quotes. He says the bombs going off in Kabul are a way to keep U.S. and NATO forces there. Of course, he doesn't tell you because they want the $100+ billion a year in opium coming out of there. Opium production in 2001 was 9% to 10% of world production out of Afghanistan. It's 93% in 2012. Last year's numbers. Look it up. In fact, show people watching on prisonplanet.tv, just 90+% of opium production worldwide, Afghanistan. A 9-fold increase in just a few years. In fact, when troops started coming out saying, we grow the opium, we load it on planes, and they hid it in plain view. They had the Marines and Army come out and go, we do help grow the opium, it's to keep Al-Qaeda from getting it. But if your kid or you get caught with opium, folks, or even caught with a derivative, legal prescription drug, you're going to jail. And the stuff, legal and illegal, is shipped in by our so-called government. It's not our government. There it is. Afghanistan is still world's top opium supplier. And it goes on to say 90% of global supply. And what's the source on that? Christian Science Monitor. I love how they spin it. Afghan still world's top opium supplier, despite 10 years of U.S. war, U.S.-led war. That's why it went up. I mean, I can play Marines on video, Marine Corps Colonel, saying we grow the opium. I've talked to the troops. On air, you've heard them, who go, yeah, we load it on C-130s and fly to America. They land at Air Force bases and Army bases, and the colonels and generals get a cut of it, and then it rolls out on the streets for your daughter to OD, and then a cop, when they pull me over, says, got any drugs in the car? And I'm like, yeah, I got a cup of coffee right here, buddy. It's a drug. Leave me alone. Don't, I'm not playing your game anymore, okay? Now, why is this so groundbreaking that it's an AP, Reuters, AFP, you name it? In a provocative speech on Sunday, Karzai said the U.S. was in daily talks with the Taliban and that insurgent suicide attacks enabled the international military force to justify its presence in Afghanistan. Quote, the bombs that were detonated in Kabul and coast were not a show of force. They were serving America, he said in a televised speech referring to 2 suicide blasts in which 19 people were killed. And this is one drug dealer, he's a drug dealer on record, fighting with the banker interests. See, there's no honor amongst these guys. U.S. troops are dying for it. We're paying for it. What, the Iraq war was a couple trillion? How much does the Afghan war cost conservatively? Over $1 trillion bucks? You're paying so smack, poppies can be grown and shipped in here and turned into heroin. Purified into heroin out of opium. And I mean, that is a fact. And then I see national neocons going, Alex Jones is a traitor, saying our government runs Al-Qaeda. Not our government. Criminal mega banks offshore run Al-Qaeda. Our government is putting Al-Qaeda in Libya, Syria. They're putting the Muslim Brotherhood in charge, burning churches and blowing things up. Right now, I've got a stack of news where Christians all over the world and U.S.-backed regimes are being killed. Our government right now in Syria, in a 2-year war, is putting al-Qaeda in, burning churches, murdering Christians en masse. That's mainstream news, okay? The globalists run al-Qaeda, and they use the threat to take our liberties, and the TSA and all of it. It's elementary. It's full-spectrum dominance. Wake up or be slaves. Hour number 2 coming up. I was right. Apologize to me. The Taliban was hired in the late 70s, and then al-Qaeda was created to take over the region. The West has always funded the radical Muslims.